We get lots of questions about finding really big snacks. If I was to find like a big cheese puff, could that be a record?
Our large snack or large food records involve the creation of manufactured scaled up versions. Now these are people working towards the creation of a larger version of your cheese puff, for example. They've got to be involving manpower, resources, and the normal ingredients involved in the creation of it in order to make those scaled up versions. If you've just found it, then it doesn't really fall under the same level of record breaking. There's got to be that skill there and that determination, because finding these things, it's not uncommon. And these irregularities come out of factories all the time.
Over the years, Guinness World Records has showcased some amazing records. From the fastest people on Earth to the highest mountain, the most spacewalks to coconuts being headbutted, to the tallest dog all the way to the shortest dog. But we always get thousands of questions, and I mean thousands of questions. So today we're going to answer them. Obviously not all of them. Hi, I'm Josephine, and today we're going in the comments with Guinness World Records. And I have your favourite adjudicator with us, Mark, to answer your questions. Tell us, what do you think your favourite adjudication's been?
Well, I've had the joy of adjudicating a lot of different attempts. Highlight for me though was at the premiere of San Andreas, getting to adjudicate Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in his attempt of the most selfies taken in 3 minutes. Big fan of The Rock and almost had to disqualify him.
Did you manage to get a selfie?
I did not, in fact I did get a selfie. I was on his Instagram feed and I think I'm still there.
Oh, good. So Mark, let's say I wanted to propose a new record. What would I need to do?
Well, first of all, you need to go onto our website and send your idea through to us. That idea then goes to our records team, who will look at it, check it, and make sure that it meets our internal criteria. If it does, then we'll write up guidelines for it, rules and regulations that you'll need to follow, as well as listing all of the evidence requirements that you'll need, and then send them off to you. Once you've got them, you attempt your record, you send us the evidence back, and then we find out whether or not you've been successful.
At Guinness World Records, we always like to celebrate all kinds of achievements, and one we're specifically interested in is the oldest people. So Mark, how can you prove that someone is the oldest person?
We'll often see claims reported in the media for the oldest people, but it will look like it's fairly modern ID. We need so much more to support that. Birth certificates, marriage certificates, photographs from throughout their life, witness statements from people who've known them. We need to be able to prove it. In terms of fully verified people, the oldest man ever was Jiromon Kimura from Japan, who lived to be 116 years and 54 days old. And the oldest woman ever was Jeanne-Louise Calment from France, who lived to be 122 years and 164 days old.
There's a lot of comments that claim that our records have become a lot less serious over the years. This is the first edition, 1955. Smells old. So Mark, have we always monitored unusual records?
Well, it's a common misconception that we're always serious and all of our records are serious. In that very edition, there are a number of records in there that some people might consider to be silly. We've got a record for the longest time rocking on a rocking chair, 92 hours, if you're interested. We've got the most raw eggs eaten, the longest time squatting on a pole, and also a record for a man in Spain who drank 40 pints of wine in 59 minutes. Now I should say that is a record that we no longer monitor, and for good reason.
A question we get asked quite a lot is, do you have to pay to be in the book?
Short answer, no. What goes into the book is decided upon by our editorial team. They find the best records to fit with themed spreads and sometimes a theme for the whole book. For the 2024 edition, it's underwater. Now when it comes to applying for a record, there can be fees involved. Now if you're applying for an existing title and you're an individual, then it's absolutely free of charge. Nothing at all. If, however, you're suggesting a new title, then there is a fee of $5 in order to get that processed. Of course, there are additional costs along the way for some records. If you want to use our logo, for example, there's licensing costs there. If you want to invite an adjudicator, there's a cost there so that you can get verification on the day. If you're a business and you're looking to get a bit of assistance going through the process, then that's chargeable as well.
Something that is quite unusual is the amount of comments we get on people's chickens laying tiny little eggs. Mark, is this a record that we monitor?
Unfortunately, no. It's quite common for chickens to lay quite small eggs. We do have a record for the smallest bird egg, however, which may be of interest. It's held by the vervain hummingbird, which can be found in Jamaica and some surrounding islets. Their eggs can measure less than 10 millimeters or 0.39 inches.
So very tiny.
Smaller than a chicken's.
A lot of people have asked, why does the book come out with next year's date?
Well, the 23rd edition of our book, which was released on the 28th of October back in 1976, was the first book to have the date on the front, and they called it the 1977 edition. Now, the reason they did that was because it was released in time for Christmas, so most people only really saw it the last week of the year, so there was a good chance it was already going to be out of date by the time they got it. It's quite common in publishing, actually, and once you've started down that path, you can't really change it, or you'd have two editions with the same name.
A question we get asked quite a lot is, why is it called Guinness World Records when that's a bit? Luckily, we have a video for that. Play the clip.
What links this woman, this building, and this dog? Well, it all began in 1951 when two hunters had an argument about which game bird was fastest, the grouse or the golden plover. How could you solve such an argument? If only there was a book that contained all the world's amazing superlatives, from the tallest people to the highest mountain to the fastest bricklayer. Well, in 1955 they made it happen, and it was sent to pubs across the land to settle arguments and to sell beer. You'll have to guess which one. But it was stolen a lot, so it went on sale, and we never looked back. People wanted to see these records in action. TV shows were made, social media accounts created, events planned. Records were there for everyone to see, or perhaps even attempt. Great at gardening? There's a record for that. Terrific at table tennis? There's a record for that. And thus every day, all around the world, records are smashed by animals, buildings, and people, like Diana, all certified by Guinness World Records. So now the question is, what record will be broken next? Oh, and by the way, in case you're still wondering, it's neither. It's the red-breasted merganser.
Let's get to the more important question. Can you get a record for being the most beautiful person in the whole world, or if your boyfriend is the most handsome person? Mark, is this true?
You cannot get a record for being the most beautiful person, I'm afraid. No, every record that we monitor has to be objectively quantifiable, so there has to be something there that is measurable. When it comes to beauty, unfortunately, it truly is in the eye of the beholder, so there's no objectivity there, so it means that we can't monitor it.
Well, that's it for now. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. Mark is always happy to answer your questions.